Hello and welcome back to Talking Giants. Packers 27, Giants 20. Another loss, another fourth quarter blown lead for the 2025 New York Football Giants. And Mike Kafka loses in his debut as interim head coach. Shaun, it was cool to see some fight. It was cool to see the offensive line kick some ass. It was cool to see an exciting game and almost won a game where the other team made a boatload of mistakes and was not executing themselves. But, Shaun, this is what happens when you have to rely on Corey Black as an outside corner because this coaching staff can't decide whether to play Deonte Banks or not when he is an unplayable player, and rely on Jalin Hyatt because Darius Slayton is hurt and you ran out of practice squad elevations for little Jordan Humphrey and Ray McLeod. So Jameis Winston throws that game-sealing interception because Hyatt doesn't finish his corner out. These players that you can't rely upon are not only two former top 100 picks, but because they are two former top 100 picks, them being on the field is costing you games. You lost this game because the New York Giants do not have a good roster. Shaun, how are you?
More pissed off than I was about 30 seconds ago when you lead off the podcast by saying it was cool. There was nothing cool about this. It is yet another game. The Giants had a lead in the fourth quarter that they lost. This time with this head coach that I thought had a couple loser moves in this game. There was nothing cool about the idea of a player we know shouldn't be on the roster. I know we're going to get to it, not knowing what the hell he's doing on a corner route. There's nothing cool about him being the option to begin with. And there's nothing cool about losing football games that you have leads in. Again, I come back to. There was nothing cool about today. You want to tell me that running the football because you had good offensive line play and seeing Tyrone Tracy turn back the clock was a positive? Sure, that was a positive. That was the best part of the game, was the run game and the offensive line mauling. But cool? No. As the kids would say, 6-7 is cool. This was not cool, Justin.
I would argue you just saying 6-7 was not very cool.
I'm trying to make it not cool because my kids are saying it.
I don't know, man. Like, you kind of, I certainly hope that intro wasn't me coming on here after another loss being like, man, that was really sick. Like, that was awesome. I kind of like, all right, how much can we scream about Joe Schoen's roster and
I think a lot.
Not playing complimentary football. And, you always, when you lose a game, it's always for a multitude of reasons, right? It's never just for one reason. But out of all the crap that we've been through this year, maybe this is the, another game where I'm just content with, all right, well, this is just what the 2025 Giants are. They're bad. And it starts with, and I really don't feel like going on and on and on about this in this particular episode. Like, I actually do want to talk about the O-line and the run game and Jameis Winston and Mike Kafka in his head coaching debut, because I feel like there's going to be plenty of more weeks to talk about Joe Schoen's roster. But they did lose this game because in pivotal moments, even though the Green Bay Packers dropped a probably combined 10 footballs today, 4 of them being interceptions by Jameis Winston, or one of them even going through the hands of Wan'Dale Robinson. And then how many drops that they have offensively? How many of them down the field? Romeo Doubs, it felt like he had 3 or 4 of them just himself, and all the injuries that they had, and they were going down with injuries. So, like, they were not executing, and the Giants could have came away with this game. But what it comes down to is, in your pivotal moments, why are the Giants blowing games in the fourth quarter? It's because you have players on the field that are unplayable, and there is a choice to play Jalin Hyatt or not to play Jalin Hyatt. Absolutely. There is a choice to play, especially Deonte Banks, over anybody else. And they're choosing to not do it, and they will continue to lose games.
Look, you nailed it. And I'm not going to try to derail this podcast and have this be the anti-Joe Schoen show right now. I totally understand there's a million things to talk about with the game. But the reason I'm more aggravated than anything right now, Justin, and it's so funny because as we've done these reaction podcasts over now, 8 weeks, we have had some opposite takes. You've been more angry at certain situations than I've been.
Right.
And I think maybe I just store and get to boiling points. Here's where I'm at. And the reason I'm really aggravated about this game where you're calling it, there were some good things. Because of a lot of what you just mentioned. The Packers constantly shot themselves in the foot today. The Giants even got injury breaks when it came to that series without Jordan Love, when it came to Josh Jacobs getting hurt, Jameis Winston throwing interceptions that weren't caught. Like, the Giants got every break you could have imagined if you were drawing up what they needed to win a football game, and they still still lost the game with this roster, and you're out of excuses. To me, when you fire Brian Dable, and you do it not with 4 weeks left, you do it with 7 weeks left, and Mike Kafka is supposed to be, I understand, impossible spot. He's trying to put his fingerprint on it, but it's also not an impossible spot. It's a possible spot. I don't know, man. There were so many things about from the roster, from the decision making, from what everybody wanted to tell me was going to be so much fun watching Jameis Winston play that just pissed me off. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's my vow to the audience. Justin is our talking Giants quarterback. He gets under there. He calls Omaha. He calls the plays. So for the duration of where we are live, and if you're listening to us on podcast feed, hello, I hope you slept it off well. I'm going to take the carries. I'm going to take the catches. And if Justin hits on something that sparks my anger, I'll let you know I'm angered. If I'm agreeing with it, we'll agree with it. And if at the end of this dustpan that is Dawkins Giants, and I love this place, at the end, if I have anything else that I feel like you didn't hit on, well, then I'm throwing the hammer down. I think that's the best way to do it without me basically interrupting everything and blowing a gasket, because I'm insanely pissed off right now. Okay.
Well, I'm going to throw it right back at you. I do want to talk about Jameis Winston's day.
Great.
Great. Well, it kind of felt like it was what I expected. It was a good amount of good. There was good in there.
There was. Well, there was better than. How about this? Let's just set the baseline. It was before this. There's no debate about this. It was definitely better than a Russell Wilson led game at a bare minimum. Okay,
yes, 100%.
I will go with that positive.
A lot of risks and a lot of plays. I mean, like we mentioned, like 4 dropped interceptions it felt like 3 to 4 dropped interceptions by the Green Bay Packers before they even got their one at the end of the game. Ironically enough, was the one that Jameis threw was probably the one that he was least in fault of himself, which is always pretty funny and poetic how that works.
Yep.
And I also thought the Giants did a decent job of limiting the risk that Jameis Winston can take in the Jameis Winston experience, even though he did have a lot of quote unquote mistakes that could have been bigger mistakes and could have been a multi-interception game. I still thought that they did a decent job of making things easy for him. And Jameis also made some good throws. I didn't love solely relying. There was a period of time, especially in the first half, where we were putting him in this 3rd and long hole, which that's kind of been the Giants offense over the last 2 years. I will say, like there was a period of time through the first 2 months of 2024 where Daniel Jones was really good on 3rd down, and it was a lot of 3rd and long, and it was a lot of Jones to Malik Neighbors. We've talked about Jackson Dart on 3rd down, how he's been like a top 2, if not the best quarterback in the NFL this year on 3rd down. So that's kind of just how this team is operating right now. And by sometimes being really good on 3rd down, when that's a note, it means they are not the best on early downs, which is kind of like the unspoken talking point about being good on 3rd down is not being good on 1st and 2nd down. So I thought, again, Jameis's day is what I expected. Good amount of good, but it certainly could have been a lot worse because the Packers dropped the ball.
So here's what I thought was the most surprising thing about Jameis Winston's day, with Jameis Winston basically giving you no ability in terms of a rush offense, which I know was a hot button topic. I'm sure you're going to clean that up on the midweek episode with the Adam Schefter piece that came out before the game and everything that went into that. They ran the ball so well. I mean, Tyrone Tracy looked the healthiest he has looked since hurting his shoulder. Devin Singletary making plays. That was what I did not expect. And I know we touched on that in the preview pod, was basically the idea of, is the run game going to be harder to pull off without that dual threat with Jackson Dart? And it wasn't. And I thought that really in a game in which you knew the run was going to be predictable based on the wins, old school Giants Stadium like wins at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. I thought it was pretty incredible that they were able to impose their will, and it really set Jameis Winston up for success. He showed that ability in those kind of mid-range throws that Russell Wilson just does not take, which I thought was, really important. Obviously, having Isaiah Hodgins come right from Pittsburgh and get inserted in that and have 5 catches like that, I thought was massively important. I think getting Wandell involved and obviously Hyatt to a certain extent early in the game, although Adam Amin had no idea who was playing receiver at certain times when he was calling the game for Fox. I thought all of that was good. But as you said, like the bad that went with Jameis Winston, like the stats are not going to show you the bad that went with Jameis Winston. He had that Raven-like game he had last year in terms of you can't believe that these guys are dropping interceptions. And the game could have been a total implosion game. But Jameis, this is what makes Jameis, I guess, great for what he is, shakes off those failed attempts and just keeps slinging it, which was needed. And he put him in position, at least late in the game, where they were going after a chance to potentially win the game. As we found out after the game, Mike Kafka was going for 2. Not exactly no kidding. More thoughts on that later.
Yeah. You talked about the run game, and that's what I do want to talk about next. It wasn't it was one of those kick-ass games, Shaun, but like it's one of those games where I'm not looking at being like, I think the Giants have found like a real identity in their offense now. Like there was nothing about this offense that made me go, holy crap, I've changed my mind about everything now that Mike Kafka is the interim head coach. Because here's the combined, when you take out Jameis Winston's 3 rushing attempts for 10 yards, which by the way, that QB sneak was awesome.
It was
which
awesome.
is awesome. Which I'm going to get into. This is really going to be
Joe Judge lives for a sneak that good.
This is really going to be a hype up the offensive line speech that I'm going to go on. But here's the combined rushing totals for Tyron Tracy and Devin Singletary: 35 attempts, 132 yards, 3.77 yards per carry. That is not. It's not great. If you're under 4, that's not great. But it worked for them, and specifically Tyron Tracy, good game. 19 attempts, 88 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. And Devin Singletary, certainly the stat line doesn't feel like it feels like he had a better game than this, but his stat line is 16 attempts, 44 yards, and 2.8 yards per carry. But this is where I want to talk about this offensive line. The biggest positive takeaway from this game for me is the offensive line. I am very, very proud of this unit, of how they are playing, of how they are fighting, and they are not a soft unit like even you could say sometimes the defense and the line and the front 7 on the other side of the ball, right? AT locking down Rashawn Gary and other pass rushers on third down, giving Jameis Winston a lot of time on third down to make throws to Isaiah Hodgins, make throws to Theo Johnson near the sideline, right? I am mad, by the way, at we will never, ever get a Micah Parsons versus Andrew Thomas game, a full sample of it.
I know.
Whether he's on the Cowboys or whether he's on the Packers. And it's smart, by the way. Don't put Micah Parsons on Andrew Thomas. Not because Micah Parsons can't beat Andrew Thomas. That's not what I'm saying. But why are you going to put your best player on their best player? Why don't you put your best player on other players that are worse? So that we will never get that, and that pisses me off. John Runyon said had some. No, go ahead, keep going.
No, I was just going to say just a quick piggyback. You knew it was a good game from the offensive line because. And I haven't fully looked over the full defensive stats. By the mid-4th quarter, you barely heard Micah Parsons' name uttered on a broadcast that featured a Green Bay Packer game, which just, again, that's not typically when we think about what goes wrong in a Giants season. The offensive line for the better part of a decade has always been 1 or 2 when playing the blame game, and I was envious of the job they did today. Now, and they've stacked games like this, by the way.
Micah Parsons had 3 quarterback hits, one of them being they count quarterback hits as sacks. Or they count sacks as QB hits, in the game book. So he had 2 quarterback hits, not counting the sack and the hit that he got to end the game, right? Because that's,
of course,
you're just trying to chuck it down the field and you're trying to get, you're 10 seconds left. So overall, they had 1 sack, not counting the one at the end of the game, and then 4 quarterback hits, 2 of them being from Micah Parsons. McDuffie, the linebacker, had 1. And then Kingsley Enagbare, an edge rusher, rusher had 1 for them.
Why that stat's important, Justin, because it's for the first time, and I'm actually almost angry at myself that I didn't think of this ahead of the game, but it dawned on me. The offensive line has felt like it's made enormous strides this year. And forget what they have to do in the offseason in terms of adding to it, maintaining it with Luminor. Like, just put that conversation aside. The 2025 New York Giants offensive line has made enormous strides, obviously, since Andrew Thomas returned after the early weeks where he was out. And what I don't think we fully knew in context based on like all the wacky stats and film reviews that could be out there about offensive linemen is this. We had a running quarterback in Jackson Dart, obviously a very polarizing running quarterback in Jackson Dart. And I do really feel like the offensive line, I think in all of sports, like offensive line statistics, I think are the hardest to gauge accuracy on or like know how one's playing. So I think it was easy for a lot of people to assume, you know what, Jackson Dart is, well, he's taking some of these sacks on his own. He's also alleviating a lot of the offensive line problems with the way he escapes, climbs the pocket, keeps the ball down the field. And the offensive line looked better as a result. But not having that kind of quarterback performance today with Jackson Dart, breaking the pocket or going downfield, like you got the full scale here versus Micah Parsons in a Packers pass rush and Jeff Hafley, who might have been auditioning for the Giants head coaching job. And in the end, a pocket passer like Jameis Winston was barely touched. And I think that this actually is why today's the most signature game of the strides that the 2025 Giants offensive line has made compared to past years.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis was standing tall, like not on those third downs, man, like just standing tall and he didn't have to move all that much. Like I would say at the end of the game, was probably when he took that sack. There was also, I think he also took another sack towards the end of the game and in the second half, fourth quarter, that he also had to move around a good amount. That's really all that Jameis had to move this game in terms of navigating a pocket, right? I talked about AT. John Runyon had some really nice pulls that led to some really nice runs, really getting out there in space and getting a hat on a hat. My overall feeling, without like fully locking in and watching him, my feeling is JMS had a really, really good game, getting a push off the snap in the run game and actually getting movement, working double teams really well on third down and passing downs. Greg Van Roten is a solid pro, like always, and Jermaine Illuminor. Hey, if we're talking about Andrew Thomas not facing Micah Parsons, it's probably Illuminor that's facing him, and especially on those third downs, on those passing downs. And that really allowed Jameis Winston, like we said, to stand tall, make those plays on third down, make his best throws on the third down and fourth down, too, on money downs when they needed. The QB sneak, I think, a signature play of this game for the offensive line. So it's a shame that, like, in a lot of these losses so far this year, Shaun, I've wanted to go on like a 5, 6, 7 minute talk about one particular thing that I've liked about what the Giants have done, but because they've sucked so bad and because nobody really cares about it, we haven't gotten the chance to do it. But I'm biting the bullet this game.
No, I got you, man. I mean, look, they've passed with flying colors. Denver would have been one of those opportunities, right? All we heard about was the Denver pass rush that week, and the Giants' offensive line stepped up, and the Giants basically pounded the ball down their throats. But yeah, I'm with you. Hats off to the offensive line, far and away, and it goes hand in hand with the run game. The biggest positive over another fourth quarter loss for the New York Football Giants.
Well-timed screens, too. It's a little bit of good Mike Kafka, but also the offensive line getting downfield, JMS getting downfield. When the Packers brought the blitz on those late downs, Tyron Tracy showed a really great effort breaking a tackle from Edrin Cooper, who's a really good linebacker, really fast, physical linebacker, breaking that on a 3rd and 12. Signature play of that first half, and I'm pretty sure that drive does lead to points. Yeah. What was really crazy about this game, Shaun, I don't have NFL.com open right now, but there were multiple drives they had one drive that went for 9 minutes and 46 seconds, and they didn't score because they failed to convert on fourth down.
Yep.
But then the next drive, it's an 8-minute drive, and then they score. I mean, that's what that second half was about. And that's when I look at it, it's like, oh, this isn't sustainable, having these 17, 18 play drives that go for 56, 60 yards. The one that they did score that took 8 minutes was over 90 yards, by the way. So it's awesome, man. But also at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So I don't know where you're going next. So here's my only question to you, Justin, without me kind of jumping you. I know we're going to cover a lot of the defensive lapses and stuff. I have some like Mike Kafka. I have major issues with this game offensively. Do you want to do a Kafka roundup at the end, or do you want to continue that on the offensive side?
We're going to get to Kafka, but first I do want to talk to you about SeatGeek, because today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. Football, obviously in full swing, with the NBA and NHL also ramping up. SeatGeek, MLB's official ticket marketplace. Your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchase. Get your baseball tickets. Maybe the Yankees will be fun. Maybe the Mets will be fun. I don't know. I care about the Giants. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app in the world. I will be at the Vikings game now, especially because the team is so irrelevant and they're losing. I will confidently be at the Vikings game. I will confidently be at the Cowboy game. So come join me. No tailgates, but I will be there, and I will have a lot of fun. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek if you don't want to go to a Giants game, including concert, sports festivals, and so much more. Right now, you get tickets to all the sports, all the concerts, and all the other events. And each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if you're getting a good deal. And you know we came through for you guys. You can use code GIANTS2025 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code GIANTS2025. You can also use that code for parking passes too, which I always find is a very good nugget. Thank you to SeatGeek. All right. I want to put a bow on, I want to talk about the receivers.
Okay.
Isaiah Hodgins makes his debut. Really good. I think a really solid, really good debut.
Yeah, it's very weird not seeing him wear 18, though. Very weird.
Very weird. That was my first thought. And of course, the inevitable talking point is, why wasn't he on the team, even going back to August?
Yeah, it almost, dude, it's so funny because as everybody weighs the be angry at Joe Shane stuff, which obviously I'm full throttle in that, Isaiah Hodgins having this kind of game with 5 catches almost makes the whole situation worse.
Yes.
Because how many of us from the couch identified it? It's not like anybody thought Isaiah Hodgins was great, but he was the perfect solution when Neighbors got hurt, just to be reliable. And the idea that you just think about how many games with drop passes since Neighbors got hurt that this team has lost. And you just wonder, a little easy move like that, signing Isaiah Hodgins off the practice squad to the active roster, maybe they don't win any of those games, but it just felt so obvious. And I thought his performance today just kind of further illustrated how ridiculous it was that he wasn't immediately brought in.
Yeah, so I'm glad that he's here. I think he's going to continue to be a good option inside the red zone.
And enjoys being here. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, every time he makes a pull, like, I love watching his smile. I know this is like very stupid little things, but Isaiah Hodgins just like a fun, good Giant to root for and have on the team, where Isaiah Hodgins doesn't piss me off. I think about that for a player.
You want to know why? And this is also this is like a little theory as to why I think the 2022 team was so good. You had a bunch of guys on that team that were legitimately playing for their livelihoods and were legitimately like playing for like their futures. Not these busts of top 100 picks that get passes because they have a regime that refuses to hold anybody accountable. In 2022, you had guys out there. Fabian Moreau picked up from the scrap heap. Nick McLeod picked up from the scrap heap. Isaiah Hodgins picked up from the scrap heap. All these guys that like contributed and played well. Like these are guys that are like, we need to play well with the opportunity that we have, or we won't get any more opportunities. And that was there. So that's like a little, and I guarantee he still has that, man. He's like, I'm finally getting back out on a football field. This team is so shitty. This team hasn't found any answers since I've been running around here, that this is my opportunity to get out there, whether it's for them or whether it's for somebody else. I got to do it. And he did it, man. So I'm happy for him.
I'm extremely happy for him too. And look, we're going to have a long off season before we, even think about any of this, but he just strikes me as a guy that, should at least be back here in August next year for me.
One more positive thing. Theo Johnson, I think 4 catches, 36 yards, nothing crazy. Maybe even had, I think 9 catches, 9 yards per reception. Doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right to me in my head.
Yeah. It was big part of that second half. Those couple plays he made.
Yeah, I mean, especially on third down and being reliable. 3 catches.
Look, he's not dropping passes, man, and I'm happy with that. Bottom line.
3 catches for 36 yards. If we can get Theo Johnson in a spot where his confidence is up and he can be more relied upon, that's awesome. That's the talking point.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Hyatt. Okay. F him. Go ahead.
This is what Amani Toomer said at the end of the game. Because Carl Banks, I thought, did a very good job of, the host of, I think it was Madeline Burke, asked like, "Oh, Carl, what do you think about this?" And Carl Banks is like, "Well, I'm going to bring it to Amani Toomer, since that's a guy that, ran like option routes and a whole bunch of stuff with Kevin Gilbride." And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be good." So Amani Toomer said at the end of the game, "I've never run a corner route as an option route," because it legitimately looked like Jalen Hyatt was almost running like he stopped running his route and he kind of like cut and turned around.
But he didn't even fully make the cut, dude. He didn't even fully make the cut.
So who knows what the call is in Mike Kafka's offense? He said it in his post-game presser that he's got to go and watch the tape. He's a big I got to go and watch the tape guy. If you were wondering what Kafka's post games are going to be like, we got one of those back again.
Great, sweet.
But Toomer says, "I've never run a corner route as an option route. I think you have to finish that route." And even I thought it was kind of funny that Toomer and Banks in the post-game show, Optimus, in-house Giants media, blah, blah, blah. I'm not criticizing them, but I thought it was pretty funny being like, I think Hyatt can be a good player. He just needs to be on the field more. And I thought that was really funny and ironic because he's not on the field, because this coaching staff doesn't trust him, yet he has to be on the field because of lack of depth, and they don't elevate guys from the practice squad, and they don't sign guys, and they have to rely upon him because he's a former top 100 pick that Joe Shane traded up for. So they put themselves in this corner and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, they also, again, to add to all that point, and I'm obviously reading between the lines of what you're saying, but the obvious for anybody listening is they don't have to put him on the field. He doesn't have to be on the roster. It is minimal money to cut Jalen Hyatt, and they've just simply signed little Jordan Humphrey or Ray McLeod to the active roster, and they opted not to. And that is why I'm frustrated with that play at the end of the game, Justin. Forget Kafka's play call for a second, but I mean, today was a big hoorah for Jalen Hyatt, right? To have Brian Dable out, treat him like the boogeyman that treated Jalen Hyatt wrong, and yet Jalen Hyatt is the most glaring reason why the Giants end up losing a football game late. And it's just, it doesn't matter the coach. It doesn't matter the quarterback. I know I'm sounding like Joe Beningo here with the Jets. Doesn't matter what freaking uniforms they wear. Jalen Hyatt is a football version of a bum, and he should not be on this team anymore.
They bragged about him falling to the third round, even trading up to getting him. And can you imagine if Jameis, who by the way, was not the perfect ball player for the first couple years, and still isn't the perfect guy.
At least he's playable.
Easily the best part of that 2023 draft class. But if when the Chicago Bears traded up ahead of the Giants, if they took JMS, the Giants would have taken Jalen Hyatt in the second round. Ugh. And they've admitted this. They've said this.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch the tape of the draft here and figure out whether they could have gotten an upgrade over JMS in the third round, and maybe that actually somehow would have been a good thing. But either way, I mean, the idea that trading up or taking Jalen Hyatt in the second round is just a mess. It's just a mess. And again, I'm going to breathe in before I get to more problems with that final play. I'll let you keep cooking.
Is this it? Like, I saw NYG Daily Weiss is like, this is the end for Jalen Hyatt and Giants. I feel like it's not.
I feel like it's not because, like, what are you? Okay, you're going to sign McLeod, maybe the active roster. Now you're going to cut him. I guess it could be it just from this standpoint. I know we're going to get to it, but if Abdul Carter was benched to start a game for reasons, then to me, you're clearly showing that from this coach's standpoint, you want to hold people accountable, right? So I think cutting Jalen Hyatt would send a big fat message that if you're not doing your job and you're lazy, that's not acceptable in Mike Kafka's version of football. So it could be, but I wouldn't necessarily assume that because he's a cat that has 9 lives.
No, and like I don't know whose call that is.
I mean, who's probably the GM's, right?
Right. You would presume so. I mean, what Mike Kafka can do is Mike Kafka
isn't the
run
GM's
out other
best
players.
Sure, I was going to say, though, isn't the GM's best opportunity now that the coach has been fired? His best opportunity to ensure he has a job is for Mike Kafka to win games and listen to what Mike Kafka wants?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It for an organization that cares so much about optics and the bad headlines that you're going to get if you cut Jalen Hyatt, the bad headlines that you're going to get if you permanently bench Deonte Banks. I think Deonte Banks, like, I don't think he deserves to be cut. I think Deonte Banks, because that may not even make sense financially as a former first-round pick, but Deonte Banks at this point should not see the football field unless your depth guys get hurt, right? But
he should be on a perfect roster, Corey Black, and there should be somebody better than Banks. You know what I mean? Depth-wise?
Yes. Like they should have taken that depth even more seriously in trying to get like take for example. And I know I'm just going with former Giants ties, but that's just what we know. Like Fabian Moreau was picked up by somebody's practice squad just a couple weeks ago. So like there are veterans that are available that are different than relying on 7th round picks. But think of how much different the season, your narrative, the story of the 2025 Giants could be if you're not relying on Deonte Banks making fatal plays at the end of a game for Denver, today's game, Corey Black making fatal plays, game-losing plays at the end of this game. Think of how much different your story and your narrative would be if you actually win some of these games, if you weren't worried about whatever negative perception you're going to get for benching a former first-round pick or cutting a third-round pick that you traded up for.
There's no doubt about it. And there's no more negative you get than when you constantly lose football games and everybody from their couch can see why you're losing football games. So, I mean, enough with this. It's going to be negative if you cut them because it shows you blew a pick. We know you blew the pick. Enough. Stop blowing games because you keep running the pick into the ground here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so freaking annoying, man. They suck.
That really, as we've gone on and on about the Giants over the last couple of years and what do they actually value? What do they actually care about? The owners care more about winning. The owners care as much about winning as much as the fans do. With all this talk of hoopla, they're trying, they're doing their best, blah, 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 blah. If they seemingly do the things that make sense about getting the best players on the football field getting the best players as possible on the football field, and they know it. Like, they know that Banks is bad. They know that Hyatt's not bad. They don't want to play them.
Right.
And if they took that seriously, instead of worrying about whatever negative perception they're going to get for benching or cutting them, like, everybody's life would be so much better. Everybody.
I agree. But no, thus is life. Thus is life as a Giants fan.
Even if they're closer to 500, I don't care that Deonte Banks is a total bust as a first-round pick. If you're actually winning and showing progress as a team, I don't care that Jalen Hyatt is a total bust of a third-round pick. If you have players on the field that are contributing.
Busts don't have to derail seasons. You derail seasons by not admitting busts. Like it's as simple as that. I'm completely with you. Even today, I know that Banks, in theory, had good coverage on the first touchdown pass, right? I know we haven't even full-gone defense here. But, like, he doesn't get position in front. He gives up the touchdown. And I just sat there going, it wasn't even the worst play from Deonte Banks. But yet here we are in another game, in another week, where, frankly, Justin, you're just going, oh, yeah, of course that touchdown was thrown right at Deonte Banks. Because every single game, you see a touchdown into the end zone. You see a bad play where a guy's out of position. And it's always the number 2 out there. And has anybody been less deserving of changing their number 50 times than Deonte Banks also, by the way?
Do you know the phrase that I've said about this football, the phrase that I've adopted about this team so often over the last 2 years? Of course, naturally. Like, of course.
Naturally, right.
Naturally.
Of course. Naturally, that was Deonte Banks that sat there and got picked on in that spot, of course.
Even with his hand in a decent spot,
but again, it's in a decent spot, but yet it's just still not where it needs to be at the same time. It's so frustrating. So frustrating.
Hey, shout out to us on the preview pod. Really, I'm saying shout out to me. I told you how important Christian Watson is, and kind of like he can be the heartbeat of that Packers offense. And oh boy, was he the heartbeat, the only one that was really catching the ball for them. I also told you about Savion Williams and how much I like him too. Yeah. Really big play down the field. I did not see that coming. Savion Williams receiving. I was talking about him as like a runner yak throw.
Yeah. No, you're right. Incredible play down the field too. Also, how about just real quickly talking about their receivers? Just as like an aside that has nothing to do with the Giants. How the hell did Romeo Doubs never go into the blue medical tent with how many times his face mask just drilled into the ground and back? It was like 2 or 3 times.
Well, they were working on his nose. I think he must have done something to the top of his nose.
But you mean to tell me all the times Jackson Dart goes to the blue medical tent? I understand that Doubs has the big extra thing on his helmet that looks like the Jetsons. I get that. His face got buried into the turf multiple times with his head snapping back. Not once did we have to look at him in the blue tent. Just an aside to compare what we've had.
I'm tired of the blue tent police. I'm tired of it.
All right, fine. Be tired of it. Just bring it up.
NFLPA, investigate this. You're playing fucking football. Sorry. All right. I got to talk to you about the Ridge wallet. I got to talk to you about the Ridge wallet. This isn't a wallet. This is also a key holder. What is this? What do you mean? They're wallets. Nope, they have key holders too. And it's really helpful for me because before this key holder, I had a bunch of keys. I now only have 3 keys that I immediately use. These keys I don't immediately use. So I keep them here. I got like 5 keys in here. I used to have all of it cluttered. Now it used to make me feel a little bit more like a manly man of that. Like I would have like all the keys rattling. So it's like, oh, this is to my shed. This is to my other shed. But you want to know what? The Ridge Wallet key holder keeps things organized and does make my life simple. Today's episode is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Look, we've all been there hauling around a wallet that feels more like a cinder block than an accessory or even keys. It's bulky, awkward, and not doing your lower back any favors, and that's where Ridge Wallet comes in. Ridge just took their game-changing wallet and made it even better. Say hello to the Ridge 2.0, the most refined version of the Ridge wallet. Everything is better on the Ridge 2.0. It's 10% lighter. Every gram matters on the Ridge wallet 2.0. They found the perfect balance. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com. That's RIDGE.com to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them, and please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Talking Giants.
I want to add on to that ad from Ridge Wallet real quick.
Yeah.
Take this as the dad in me that has matured on that side of the life. Folks, if you get paid bi-weekly and you're a listener, you got like 3-4 paychecks tops before Christmas. The custodian in your life, Ridge Wallet key holder. Bang.
Wow. That's awesome. Great idea.
Maybe they go by janitor now.
Great idea.
Yes.
All right, Mike Kafka's debut. The things that now you have a lot of feelings on this, so I'm gonna kind of let you cook here. But the things that I think I've defined his debut. We talked about the offense. I liked the offense. I liked the offensive approach, but that's, he was play calling all year. Now he's a head coach. We saw that he was aggressive on fourth down. He would have gone for 2 if they scored on that final drive. And there's even a little bit of a black cloud hanging over Abdul Carter it was a coach's decision to not play Abdul Carter during the first series of the game. Shaun, what do you have on Mike Kafka's debut at interim head coach?
All right, so a couple things I want to rattle off here. Full disclosure, because I'm not going to run and hide from this. I was a Brian Daboll defender. I don't hide from that. I still think that down the line, Brian Daboll, different opportunity, different whatever, could probably be a good head coach, but he did his own undoing, so I'm not defending him. But I say that to say, Mike Kafka, the play caller, I'm going to try to combine with, or at least separate what I think as a head coach he needed to do here. And I also think I'm going to be harder on Mike Kafka because I'm viewing his 7 weeks as an audition to try to be the head football coach of the New York Giants permanently. And I'm not going to be easy on this because I'm tired of losing football games where coaching gets blamed. So here's my issues with Mike Kafka here on Sunday, Justin. First and foremost, the bows he's getting for the aggressive play calling on the fourth downs. You're 2-8. And the entire game was swirling heavy winds, probably the heaviest we've seen in MetLife Stadium in 3 years. So, look, he's supposed to make those decisions, but I'm not exactly patting him on the back for what felt like very obvious decisions based on record and based on weather out there that they should have been going for it. Number 2, when he does go for it and he gets that crucial fourth down at the time, why are we running a wildcat play where the ball is being snapped 6 yards back?
Yeah, I don't love that.
They get it. So, look, it's one of those things, right? If a play works, you get it. I hated that play call on a fourth down when you're going for it. I thought that was terrible. Now, you got bailed out. You did your job. The end of the game. Well, actually, let's go back to the beginning of the game. He was a lost cause in the challenge situation.
Yeah.
I didn't like challenging the Josh Jacobs. I thought it was, first of all, way too early to begin with, but also, I mean, nobody up there gets in your ear and goes clean view. It's close, but he doesn't get in. I thought he was a little too aggressive. Maybe that was nerves. Maybe that was whatever in calling that challenge. And then as the inverse, because he was that, I thought it was terrible not to challenge Wan'Dale Robinson on third down, getting that first down, which is a crucial drive where points are going to be at a premium. If you were going to be aggressive and throw that challenge flag with Jacobs, now you got scared because you wanted to make sure you had a challenge late in the game. Dude, that was the time to challenge. Now you would have lost it, and I know that's the fight, but then don't challenge that first one. You can't be so quick to do that. I thought he was just very sloppy with that. Also, the end of the game. Now we find out post-game he's going to go for 2 if they would have scored to put it within 1.
Yeah.
Again, this would be a no kidding you were spot because you should be, right? And it would be ironic if they would have got it. I was waiting for that to happen with Daboll, but my bigger issue, dude, is I keep calling you dude in this episode. I don't know why I'm doing a lot of hey, dude. Mike Kafka, this is where I thought he didn't have an ebb and a flow. Kicking, you saw on both sides. This was not a coup problem. It was, you didn't know where the ball was going. So I, of course, was expecting to go for 2 to win because you could not afford to lose that game on a missed extra point. Like that would have just been killed him. But how about the touchdown before you give the ball back to Green Bay? Is there 7 minutes or something? Help me with the timing here real quick. Whatever it was, whatever puts the Giants up at that time, or I guess ties the game, right, at 2020? Is that what we tied it? Or did we have a 2019 win?
Are you talking about the 15-play, 91-yard drive where they scored?
Yeah, what did we make the score when we got to 20? What the hell was the score? 20? Was it 2019 at that time?
Yeah, because then they kick they kick the extra point and they take the lead.
Okay, right. So it was 19-19 if we kicked the extra point. I would have went for 2 there too. I was stunned they kicked the extra point, knowing how off and how erratic all the kicks were. And to me, if you kick that or you do that, look at the pressure now that goes the other way here on Green Bay, and that's a huge point and an opportunity you missed in that spot. I just thought that was weird. Like I thought based on the fact that it was so hard to kick, I think he got a little nervous there. Maybe the wind had died down. I wasn't on the field at that time. I was expecting him to go for 2 there. He didn't. And in the end, when you're talking about going 2 for 2 at the end of the game, you may not have had to had you gone for 2 with 7 minutes or so left. I just thought that was a little thing. And then last but not least, the Hyatt play that we're all killing Hyatt for. He's supposed to make a move on it. this is all 22 is going to tell this, but from my vantage point, that is a very quick play where it seems like to me that corner route is the first read on that play that's called by Mike Kafka. And when I think about the game that Isaiah Hodgins was having with 5 catches, when I think about what Theo Johnson was or is building on the last 2 weeks and not dropping passes, and obviously you have Wan'Dale Robinson there, and I think about the career that is Jalen Hyatt, in no way, shape, or form, if you are going down the field as both a play caller and a head coach, should any play that involves going to the end zone to try to potentially win the game have, like, your design be the first option is Jalen Hyatt. You got what you deserved if you were Mike Kafka today, and Jalen Hyatt basically got lazy on a route. Hyatt's going to get killed, and he deservedly has, and he has here. But Hyatt shouldn't even be in the conversation unless it's a complete breakdown of a play as the third option where then Winston wings it into it. It was a bang, like the play is designed for Jalen Hyatt. Why are we designing plays for Jalen Hyatt to win the game? That's what you get. You get laziness and a guy that doesn't fight for the football. And it just pissed me off at the end. We're all, oh, can you believe Hyatt did? I can believe that Hyatt didn't finish a route. I can believe it because he sucks. And he should not be, even if he has to play, he should not be your first option on a play to win the game. I thought that was atrocious from Kafka.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I go back and forth on that. I feel like there was even time left too. I mean, I know they were letting it go down.
I thought that was good by Kafka. I thought he handled the clock at the end well, trying to wind it down as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the main priority is to score, and you know, I always like to abide by the Peyton Manning philosophy of when you're in the red zone, you know, there's the best way to score is to throw the ball in the end zone and to call plays that call for touchdowns, right? That will result in touchdowns, right? But I don't know, man. I agree with you, but also like it sucks that the Giants are in a spot where if they have one of their 11 players, or even let's just say skill position wise, if you're in 11 personnel, right, then that means that there's 4 guys that can catch the ball downfield, your tight end and your 3 wide receivers. If one of those 4 guys is a guy that you just can't throw the ball to, like you're not allowed to throw the ball to, I think that is a sucky way to operate as an offense.
Okay, but I'm not saying you're not allowed to, but why should that be like when you're drawing it up? Okay, this is a play that's designed for Jalen Hyatt. There should be no plays designed. He has to be your third.
They have because they have no other speed on the field, Shaun. They have Wan'Dale Robinson, who, okay, he's fast and he has speed, but he's 5'8", and you're not throwing the ball.
But where you are bunched, you don't need the speed option there. It's not like you're streaking down the field. Like you needed the speed option when you're throwing the Hail Mary at the end.
So who else is going to run a corner route for you?
Why does the corner route have to be run on that play?
You're being aggressive. You're going for the. I don't know. Like I'm not an OC. I don't call plays, but I can appreciate being aggressive and a wide receiver having a one-on-one option. You've been conservative with the clock, and now Jameis Winston's trying to go for the kill. And at least, this was Amani Toomer's argument after the game, at least what you have to do if you're Jalen Hyatt there is even if you're not going to come down with the catch, you at least have to put yourself in a position where you don't allow the other guy to make the catch. So I guess their inference, Shaun, their inference was they have a player on a football field that you presume can play wide receiver for you and at least knock the ball down, when in reality, he couldn't even do that.
Yeah, Justin, of all the flaws in Jalen Hyatt's game, and we talk about like not having the full route tree, he's just the speed guy, goes down the field. His biggest flaw over 3 years is that when balls are thrown to him, he doesn't fight for footballs.
Right.
So I want him nowhere near being a first option in the end zone, where presumably one of the biggest things you're going to have to do besides running a route accurately is fight for a football in a one-on-one spot. That's my issue.
Yeah, I think that's
Kafka's been around long enough to know that you got to know what you got. You're right. Like you don't have the speed options, but you also have to know what you have. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm not walking away from this game kind of putting that on Kafka, you know?
Okay. All right. I mean, look, and I'm acknowledging that I'm grading harder now because this is a job audition.
Yeah, right. Producer Jeff also sent me this from Jordan. Mike Kafka was asked if there would be any changes to the defense coordinator or play calling. He said they will evaluate everything and everyone, but it was not an overwhelming endorsement of defense coordinator Shane Bowen. So, Shaun, when I hear
That's not a what are you talking about?
When I hear this regime say we're going to evaluate things, that typically means that there's going to be a change coming.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, I'm not gonna fight that. You want to fire Shane Bowen? Let's go. Let's fire Shane Bowen. I mean, he certainly hasn't earned the right to be here. Although it's kind of funny, as bad and as sloppy as today was, it was filled with drops. Shane Bowen's not at the top of my list of my anger, but
no, not at all.
I'm not gonna get in the way of a good time of letting him go at this point because I'm sure there's gonna be another week where he jumps back to the top of that list.
So this is where maybe we could start to transition to the defensive side and away from Mike Kafka, because I do want to. This is still kind of related to Mike Kafka. It's all kind of speculation with Abdul Carter not playing the first series of the game. But first, I do want to give a quick shout out to Nike. It's not too late to rep any team, your team, whether it's baseball, whether it's football. It's not too late because you can celebrate another season down, or even as the Giant season's winding down. So go check out our affiliate link in the description below to shop some amazing Nike gear. Thank you to Nike affiliate partners with them this year. How do you like that? All right, so Abdul Carter coach's decision to not play the first series of the game, knowing the coach's decision in the past, right? Like I think of like when Ahmad Bradshaw sat for Tom Coughlin, right? Like being late to a meeting. I think Andrew Thomas was even late in his rookie year, was late to a meeting or something like that. And it wasn't the end of any of their careers. So I don't know, man. Like I don't know. It's all speculation at this point, but that was clearly a Mike Kafka game one, Abdul Carter not playing the first defensive series for the game. And it was not one of those things of we want to get Timon Fox reps.
Yes. And Abdul Carter after the game said he was keeping it in-house. So what we're going to get here is very Aaron Glenn-esque, where we're not going to get any answers here. We're going to get in-house. Of all the things that I had issues with Mike Kafka, if Abdul Carter said something stupid, he's a rookie, and that's a sign of accountability. And I think that, you know what, if he misses a series there at the beginning of the game and he understands a lesson in the NFL, look, the previous coach is out. This is a new regime. I've gotten drafted into this, and I screwed up. You have to learn from it. That's how you build building blocks of accountability. So we may never know. Maybe eventually we'll know down the line. Maybe if Kafka's gone and Shane's gone, that'll come out, whatever happened. But how could I possibly say it was the wrong thing to bench Abdul Carter if I have no effing idea what he did to begin with, and they're keeping it in-house? I highly doubt in a game without Kayvon Thibodeau, with knowing all eyeballs on this, that the Giants would sit in Abdul Carter to start the game if it wasn't warranted. So, great job by him. In the end, too, I thought that Abdul Carter was noticeable. Again, another game where he just can't get home, but very noticeable in his pressures after that when he was inserted.
Yeah, I think his second half was much better than the first. He was getting killed on those QB read options early in the game with Malik Willis, and even Jordan Love took one on a third down too, where you're just biting at the running back, and even the one with Malik Willis on a 3rd and 8, and it's like,
what you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about, Willis? A little bit more. I guess you can see Carter's case. He kind of tried playing the quarterback and tried playing a little bit of both, but I think, at least in my opinion, you can't give the sideline there. You have to funnel everything inside and allow linebackers, safety, somebody else to step up, because if you as an edge rusher give the sideline, you're done and you're cooked. So after making some mistakes on those read options in the first half, I thought he rebounded, had pressures. I think he's going to end the game with 1 or 2 QB hits as I check it right now.
Well, he had the one that should have been a sack, and Love delivered a dime over the middle as
one quarterback hit.
Yeah,
just one.
Dude, that was such a good play. He swerved inside, swallowed Love up, and Love just stood in there. I thought Love's best throw of the day, frankly.
Yeah. Brian Burns. Shaun, why do I not remember 2 sacks? I remember 1.
I remember the one. I remember the one because it made me laugh because it felt very Strahan Favre-esque.
He got one legit one.
And that was the one I remembered.
Oh, where was the other one?
I remember the one where basically Love fell down and Burns just tagged him. What was the legitimate one?
I don't know.
That's the one I'm forgetting.
Because the game book has him down for 2 sacks.
Interesting.
The official NFL game book.
You're right. I see it here. 2 sacks.
Yeah. So
wow.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. Wow, that's crazy.
But he has 2 sacks on the day. So his season stats are getting nuts, man. In 11 games, he has 13 sacks. That is a career high for him, by the way. It's a career high.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yes.
Because now I think I was just cursing up a storm about Jalen Hyatt. I think it's in real time realizing, what did the Packers do in terms of like trying to run the clock out those 3 plays? Was there a play where Burns kind of tagged Love down in the final 3? Was that the other sack?
Maybe, man.
Because nothing's jumping out at me at like a legitimate sack.
I'm even trying to go back on the Talking Giants Twitter and see if I clipped up something that was legit. I
never saw spiderwebs get shot today.
Yeah, no, Brian. I have the only thing I tweeted about Burns today is Brian Burns just collected his 12th sack of the year, leads the NFL. He's playing in his 11th game this year, but now he has 13, which is, if the game book is right, that is a career high for Brian Burns. 11 games in, his career high previously was in 2022 with 12 and a half. He had 4 quarterback hits today. That's 21 on the year. His career high in 2022 was 22 quarterback hits. He needs 1 more quarterback hit to tie his career high. He had 2 tackles for loss. That is 17 tackles for loss on the year through 11 games. 17 tackles for loss ties his career high that he had in 2024 and in 2022. He also had a pass defense today, a pass deflection. That gives him 7 on the year. He is 1 away from tying his career high of 8 passes defensed in 2024. We are seeing an insane statistical year from Brian Burns and impact year, not just stats. And Shaun, it's going to be a shame when this is going to be a footnote in Giants history because of how pathetic this defense is and how pathetic this team is.
It sucks, man, because he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he is the Defensive Player of the Year because football actually takes it seriously when it comes to having teams be, I don't know, factored in when they hand out these awards. He's been awesome. And everything he says post-game in a hellish season, he's been awesome too. Brian Burns, to me, is like the legitimate captain of this football team. And he's a guy I literally enjoy watching him play, which makes me ashamed. I have no recollection of the second sack. It sucks, man. It sucks because you just hope you don't project. Like, this team has been strung by so much bad luck and misfortune on top of their own doing that you hope that over the next couple of years in this Brian Burns contract, he legitimately gets to see some winning football because he's played on some really bad Carolina and Giant teams. And I just hope that, his future beyond this year, like, this isn't it in terms of like being awesome. And he gets to stack these good years on teams that hopefully are competitive in the next couple of years. Because I would hate for this to look back and be like, remember that one really awesome Brian Burns year that was a career year and he never kind of got close to it? That would really suck because he deserves better.
I'm trying on the fly to look up some guys that I know. Oh, yeah, and I knew it. It was J.J. Watt in 2012
that did it on a bad Texan team.
That one of the best defensive seasons in NFL history. I don't know if Burns is going to finish with 20 and a half sacks. And, Watt also did this on 16 games. Burns is going to have 17. But J.J. Watt had 39 tackles for loss. 39 in 16 games. But my point is that Burns may get close to 30 tackles for loss in a single year. If the guy gets around 30 tackles for loss and let's just say like 16 sacks, that would be almost 50 negative plays forced on the year, which is like that would be like sometimes a whole game's worth of plays.
Oh, that's crazy. It's just, again, he's probably the guy I feel the worst for this year in the Giants.
Yeah.
Like the worst for. And this includes Cam Scadaboo's foot pointing the other way. I actually feel worse for Brian Burns the way the season's gone down.
Dexter Lawrence showed up today.
Yeah, he had that big hit rushing up the middle. I mean, again, I thought the last 2 weeks we've at least seen noticeable plays from Dexter Lawrence, which is a positive.
Yeah, I don't fully know where he went in the fourth quarter. That's one of those things where you're just, you're biting your nails, just waiting for the game to fall apart instead of watching like individual efforts. But there was even early in the game, like Dexter's going to get credited with 2 quarterback hits, and I think I can tell you both of them. There's going to be one early in the game where he got double teams, but then he kind of loops around and he gets Jordan Love, and Jordan Love actually goes out and extends and scrambles, and Dex almost gets him down. I think they count that as a hit because he did wind up hitting the quarterback. I don't know how they count that.
It should be.
even though it's going to go down as a rushing attempt for Jordan Love. And then the second one, he's one-on-one against the center, their backup center. And it's like, yeah, that's the Dex that we should see. Just tosses the dude to the ground, rushes up the middle, and doesn't wind up getting Jordan Love down. But you got to finish. I mean, that's the difference between Dex this year and Dex last year, or even 2023, 2022, is Dex was finishing a little bit more often. Did you see on the Emmanuel Wilson touchdown where he ran up right up the middle? Dexter Lawrence was triple teamed.
I didn't notice that because I was too busy focused on Deontay Banks basically being a popcorn vendor instead.
Demetrius Flanagan fouls, just plays a peekaboo to the wrong gap. And
Fouls is an interesting player, isn't he? Because he's so bad on so many of these plays, but then he shows up with one of these big tackles. He's got a lot of Tay Crowder in him. Boy, does he.
Signed as a special teams guy from San Fran.
I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him, but it's just funny because there are plays you're like, oh my God, this guy's terrible. And then there's other moments you're like, what a play by Fouls.
Joe Shane takes stopping the run very seriously.
Yeah.
But I just found it to be very funny that Dexter Lawrence was triple teamed and nobody else can make a play. Roy Robertson Harris has a 1v1. Where's Bobby Okereke? Javon Holland, I think, Javon Holland's safety. One of the safeties getting blocked downfield. And then Deontay Banks just, I'm going to try and slap
And
you.
just real quickly, what the hell with Paulson Adebo? Gets hurt before the game and it's a knee. Like, what is going on?
Oh, that was new. That wasn't we just ruled him out.
Yeah, he took the field for warm-ups. That was the way I interpreted it. I interpreted it as a different injury, or like a re-aggravation maybe. But I don't think it was because didn't they already list the inactives and he was not on it. That's how I knew it was not the same injury.
And then I saw that when the first team defense was running, he wasn't out there. So
no, he got ruled out before kickoff. He got hurt in warm-ups. So that's good. Good time.
Naturally.
Yep.
So does that mean the Giants went into this game with one more guy inactive than they had to? I don't know.
Okay, so this is where I got very confused. Let me just work with me. I'm just going to quickly Twitter search Giants inactives.
So why don't you quickly search that while I read an ad?
Okay. All right.
Today's episode is sponsored by Hims. Confidence shouldn't be complicated. Through Hims, you can skip the guesswork and get access to care that actually fits your lifestyle. Straightforward, stress-free, and designed around you. Through Hims, you can access personalized treatment options for ED, like Hard Mint, SexRx Plus, Climax Control if prescribed. Hims offers access to ED treatment options ranging from trusted generics that cost 95% less than brand names to Hard Mints if prescribed. This isn't a one-size-fits-all care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure you get what you need to get results. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/giants. That's hims.com/giants for your free online visit. Hims.com/giants. Actual price will depend on product subscription plan. Future products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Okay, so real quickly, the Giants inactives today were Kayvon Dart, Slayton, Newbin, James Hudson, who you forget is a Giant, Chauncey Golston, and Rakeem Nunez-Roches. So no, he was not. He was listed as active and he got hurt in warmups. I say that
Jordan tweeted Bobby Okereke and Paulson Adebo are active. That's what he tweeted.
So they were active and he got hurt in warmups. So this was a big throw-off thing. This is what led to Banks and Black having to play, which threw off the entire week's game plan when they expect him to come back. So full disclosure, I don't know the rules, but my rules, I'm guessing you probably for gambling purposes, 90 minutes before need to submit this list. And if anything happens in warmups, that's how Gano gets hurt in warmups. And it doesn't matter. We've had that problem. We basically had a Gano version here with Adebo. And even if he was healthy and you wanted to flip somebody out, I mean, who's James Hudson, I think, is the only guy healthy on that inactive list that you would have activated anyway. So no matter what, they were short of D-back.
Yeah. Shaun, maybe, I don't know. We're at the mark where we should end it.
Yeah. We could clean, or you're clean anything up on the midweek episode anyway. There's a lot more to know.
You never get a chance to talk about stuff like this, though. Do you have any leading thoughts? Jay Glazer on the Fox pregame show provided an early list of names the Giants should target at head coach. It was led by Mike McCarthy, Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith, Steve Spagnuolo, Lou Anarumo, Yeehaw. But he really did put an emphasis on Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula, as him and Sean McVay are very close. He called them best friends. I initially misinterpreted that as Jay Glazer was talking about him and Joe Shane were best friends, but actually it was Sean McVay. He also
followed it up, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the quote because I was listening to this live, was something along the lines of it will not be like as an extent. It would not be as an extensive search really beyond some of those names either. Like, that's the way I heard it, unless I heard that wrong. In other words, yeah, there'll be other names, but don't expect them to have like a net 20 people wide here. So, look, Jay Glazer ultimately is the guy. We get to meet all our great beat reporters we love, and many of them do a great job. From a national perspective, when it comes to Giants football, when Jay Glazer speaks, I listen.
Yeah.
And how my reaction to that would be, I'm probably going to be surprised if ultimately the head coach of the New York Giants is not one of those 6 guys he rattled off. I think that he has pretty good intel on it. Now, are any of them going to excite me? I think you see a theme there. For the most part, it's guys who are former head coaches and or they like Lou Anarumo and or Shula's the next guy up who's basically sniffed a fart by Sean McVay that is up for a hire. So if I had to say without having any of those guys in the room, Justin, Shula's probably the guy I'd be most intrigued by because he's worked in a room with McVay, gets how running that is. Those guys tend to be successful. Even if he's a defensive mind, they have a really good defense. I'm going to guess he could poach somebody from that McVay staff to come in here and help offensively. So if it has to be one of those 6 guys, without ever have heard Chris Shula speak, I would say, you know what? Chris Shula would excite me the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't thought, starting to think more, but my attention and my energy is still being devoted on how are we going to bully the Giants to get Joe Schoen out?
Yep, I agree.
That's
well, Jalen Hyatt losing games at the end is a pretty good start. So
it's a good start. All right. I'll be back in the middle of the week. The running joke continues. I'm going to try and get a beat reporter around the middle of the week. Unless somebody's fired and then a beat reporter gets busy and then I don't want to ask anybody because I think everybody's busy. And then I do something on my own or then I do a live stream or I got to get Shaun back in the middle of the week because all the news breaks and we need to do 4 episodes again. I don't think that's going to happen again this week, but
where the week takes us, it takes us, Justin.
You never know with this team. You never know. How many looks does it get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? You never know. All right. Thanks for watching. Let's go Giants. See you in the middle of the week.